Hi everybody and welcome to this time lapse. We've got Lady Godiva here. It's a master copy. I copied from John Collier. So a lovely story behind Lady Godiva. First I should say actually I did this one because a patron requested it. So I was happy to get on board with this. Now the original size, you can actually go and see it in Coventry. It's in the Herbert Art Gallery and Museum. Like I said, in Coventry. Now the size is 142 centimeters by 183 centimeters. My size that I'm doing here is 49 centimeters by 40 centimeters. So it's obviously a lot smaller. The reason I did it smaller is it's just much easier when it comes to recording, and also my easel size. I've got a board that's it's not really an easel, it's just a drawing board that's nailed onto a wall, because I find with my easels that I've got it jump. So when I'm recording and I'm actually putting pastel onto the paper, the board's jumping, which is just really irritating. It's not nice and steady. That's why I've nailed a drawing board to my wall. So it's only so big. So there's no way that I would be able to put a piece of paper up this size if I was really going to do it the size that John Collier's is. And also for that reason, I understood that the smaller you go, the harder it is to get those details in. Now, if you look at the painting, there is a lot of detail in there. So I had to make do with getting a few details in. But obviously it was a bit frustrating because I wasn't able to get all the details that I was seeing. Like I said, because I'm just pasteling so much smaller than what he would have. And just to say, this is an oil. The original's an oil painting on canvas. I'm using soft pastel on pastel matte paper. I'm using the dark green color. There's no particular reason that I chose this color other than the fact that I have 5 big sheets of it. I've got 70 centimeters by 100 centimeters, so I just cut it down to this size. So only reason I'm using the dark green. I did a rough outline sketch, as you can see, and part of me kind of wished I'd done it a little bit more detailed because it would have made the whole painting process go a little bit quicker. I started on the background as always. Now in this background, apparently it's the door to the monastery. So let me tell you a little bit of what we know about the real people, the real person of Lady Godiva. She was a real person who lived in Coventry here in the UK. She was a gentlewoman married to the Earl of Coventry of Mercia. His name was Leo Frick. And together they funded a monastery. It was a Benedictine monastery dedicated to Saint Mary. Now, today in Coventry, you can still see a little bit of the wall. I think it's the west wall, but don't quote me on that. So the monastery isn't standing as it would have been during their time. So they reckon Lady Godiva died somewhere between the years 1066 and 1086. So she was a real woman. We have records and accounts. She was a real woman, like I said, married to the Earl of Mercia, who was Leofric. Now, there is this particular painting's based on a myth of Lady Godiva, and the myth goes like this. So in order to appeal to her husband to decrease the taxes that his people were paying, he said he would only agree to it if she rode through the town naked. And he didn't think she would really do it, but she did. And therefore he had to stick to him promising that he would reduce the taxes for the people if she did it. So it is based on, like I said, the real people, but this historians believe is just a myth. That there's no records of her actually doing this. The myths come later on in history. So anyway, let's talk a little bit more about the actual painting itself. So I worked a lot with my pastel pencils. They've got nice thin tips, so I was able to get quite a bit of detail in. Like I said, I'm painting really small here. So the detail's a little bit tricky, but pastel pencils really can help with that. They just don't pack a punch like a pastel would. Soft pastel lays down more pigment, and it's just got brighter, more saturated color and quicker. Where if you want that saturation of color with pastel pencils, I find you've got to build it up a little bit more. But anyway, they're really good just to get some details in, like in his reins and on the fabric. There's a lot of detail going on in here. I didn't put as much detail in the background. I felt like if I was going to go in and put in all the details with the stonework, I mean, this would take me literally a very long time. And I'm quite impatient. I'm an impatient painter. The longest I sit down to work on something, not when it's a commission could take me up to 15 hours, but generally if I'm sitting down to paint a demo for my patrons, I don't like to do more than 6 hours, where doing Lady Godiva would have taken a lot longer if I did have to get in all those details in the background. So I just focused on my tonal value. I focused on getting my darks in there, my midtones and my lights to create the stonework in the background. Horse, because we're coming forward, so the very background is the castle and well, it's not a castle, but all the buildings in the background on the right, and then we've got the monastery, and then we've got her and the horse. So this is where I concentrated on getting the most details. Her face was really, really such a massive challenge. I mean, the size of her face is probably a little bit bigger than the top of my pinky. Really, really small. Now, if you look at Lady Godiva's face in the original by John Collier, her face is so beautiful. I just was not able to capture that in my piece. I'm not great with doing figures. But the face was just such a massive challenge. So I left it at a place where it was okay. It wasn't horrendous. It was just okay. And I've given this painting to my mom as a gift as well. And she loves it. So I was like, woohoo, there we go. So painting her skin is actually also one of the highlights. I absolutely adore doing the color of skin. Like I said, when it comes to figures, I'm not very good, but that's more down to the features, the details, the nose, the eyes, the placement of the mouth, all of that stuff. But when it comes to the color of skin, it's one of my favorite things to create. I just love it. Using a mixture of blues, oranges, reds, and yellows and greens to create the skin tone. Those combination of colors work really, really well when it comes to painting Caucasian skin. So if you do want to check this out in real time, I've got about 8 demos. They're all about an hour, some are 2 hours long, in real time of me going through this. You can check me out on Patreon. I'll leave a link in the description below. But overall, I would have to say I didn't do this justice, and one of the biggest things I could have changed, and what I would suggest if you did want to do this, is to paint bigger. Go for a bigger board, canvas, piece of paper, whatever your medium is, so that you can get those details in. And just like John Collier, just doing this again, it's just blows my mind how exceptional this man's talent is. This was an absolute mind bend when I was looking at all these details, thinking, how on earth am I going to do this? So much respect. Anyway, so I would always recommend once in a while doing a master copy for sure. And what a beautiful subject to be painting something that has its roots in England. Anyway, that's it for now. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I shall see you in the next one. Bye for now.